Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On It with your boy R.W. Coolins. Let's get this party started. Let's go. Give me them horns. Labor Day weekend, baby. Labor Day weekend. Enjoy yourself. Be safe out there. Wear your mask. Don't get into any environments that are larger than about 10 people so you can avoid getting that Rona. It's the last big barbecue of the year. Make sure you ask that fatal question. Who made the potato salad? Everybody can't do that. And I said everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Speak On the Show. I am your host, R.W. Coolins. How's everybody doing out there today? Good show for you, good show for you. We're going to come at you live from Las Vegas this morning. And first and foremost, giving honor to the guy who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there? Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend. Be safe out there. Be safe out there. Be safe out there. Good morning, my brother, Gary Burns. Good morning. Good morning. Appreciate the support, my brother. Appreciate the support. So let's get these formalities out the way so we can get into this morning. rwcoolins.com, the website. That's all you need to know. That's the website. Go there. You can get all the information you need about the show, and it'll, YouTube, Facebook Live, everything you need. Merchandise. Let's talk about merchandise. T-shirts, not this T-shirt, but the show T-shirts are there. You can go there, person. I got everything from small up to quadruple X. I said it, quadruple X. All the sizes you need, all the sizes you want, they are there. You can go there, get the T-shirts, support the show, everything. All the proceeds from the T-shirts will be put back into the show. All right. So let's get messed up this morning. Follow me, rwcoolins.com. As I mentioned, all the way. And right now we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you go there. If you, have your friends come in, support the show, listen to what we're doing over here. And before I get into, let me hold on for a minute. Call in number. Y'all think I'm all confused this morning. Call in number. It is working today. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. You can go there. If you got something you want to say what you mean when you say. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. You can call in, or you can put a post on the Facebook page or on the YouTube, and I will be able to post it on the screen so everybody can see what you have to say. All right. Last week I had a great interview with Reverend Derek Shackelford, and I made two mistakes. I want to correct that. I made two mistakes last week. Last week I said he is the pastor. He celebrated his second year as the pastor of Buckestown United Methodist Church, but I said it was in Frederick, Maryland. It is actually in Buckestown, Maryland. So I want to make that correction. Also, when we talked about where I'd seen him and my travels and everything playing basketball, he played basketball at George Mason University, not George Washington. George is George as far as I'm concerned, but I want to make sure I clear those things up because I don't want to take anything away from this young man's accomplishments. So I want to make sure I make those corrections as I catch them as I go to let you know that, R.W. Coolins makes mistakes too along the way. September 19th. Remember this, mark your calendar, September 19th. It is, I wish I had a drum roll, the 8-year anniversary of the Speak On It Show. Yes, 8 years, even though we've had breaks in there, here and there, hiatuses and everything. 8 years this show has been in existence. So on that day, September 19th, I will have the proprietor of the OT Radio Network. OT will be on, who put me on from the beginning, who told me that I needed to be on. So he's going to be on with me that day. So we're going to go there. Good morning, Maurice Wickfall. Good morning, Mario Cigar Man McCoy. Good morning, Russell Jenkins. And good morning, Melvin Jackson. I want to say good morning to all those people that are chiming in. I appreciate your support. Helping the brother make it through this early Saturday morning. Also, 58 days, y'all. We got 58 days till we vote. 58 days. Now, you got early voting. I got the thing in the mail the other day, talked about early voting, when we can go out and early vote. You can do your mail-in voting. You got to register for all these things. Do not, what they call that? Procrastinate. That's what I meant. Normally I would just say something else, but don't procrastinate what you need to do about this election coming up. Do not procrastinate. Please don't procrastinate. Get your people out there, get them out there to vote, get them out there to vote, get them out there to vote, get them out there to vote. I got a question real quick before I get into this first topic. And it's something that has kind of jumped out at me, especially when we're in this season of election season. Good morning there, Ethan Johnson. We're in election season, y'all. And one organization that we haven't heard from is, you ready? Let me get the drum roll. Where's the NRA at, y'all? The National Rifle Association. Where's the NRA? And now I know they're under investigation in New York. However, you ain't heard a peep. Well, let me just put it this way. Let me use a phrase that someone used for me one time, and I'm going to use it for you. The NRA has been so silent at this time, you can hear a mouse pissing on cotton. I said it, you can hear a mouse pissing on cotton. They've been so quiet since this investigation kicked off. So what I want to do, through all of you out there, I'm sending out a welfare check for, what's his name? LaPierre, who is who was running the NRA and all those NRA enthusiasts. Where y'all at? Because normally we all know from our history that at this time, we always hear about the NRA. Oh, they're going to take your guns. I ain't heard that. I haven't heard anything about Democrats taking your guns as much as they did when President Obama was running about he was going to take your Second Amendment rights, all these different things. I haven't heard from the NRA. Just something I want to bring to your attention. I know some of you've noticed it, some of you may not, but that's my job, is to bring it to the forefront. Where is the NRA? I'm putting out a APB, all points bulletin to find out where they at. NRA. So we're going to get into this first topic. Let's go. Ultimate sacrifice. Now, everybody knows R.W. Coolins is a veteran. And if you didn't know, yes, I am. This week, there was a report in the Atlantic about the President Trump, made disparaging remarks about our veterans. Not walking tall, serving at this time veterans, but our fallen heroes that are in something. This happened back when he was visiting France at one time, but he was supposed to go and visit the cemetery over there, doing his visit in France and everything. But this is where I have the problem, and I'm gonna go through some of the background, but then I'm gonna get into this. So he called them losers and suckers. Let's just be real. That was the name he put on them, losers and suckers. And the reason he said he didn't visit the cemetery was because he blamed it on the rain. He didn't want his hair to be disheveled. He didn't want to look a certain way. Even though he was honoring fallen heroes. He said, why should I go to the cemetery? Cemetery. He said, it's filled with losers. The cemetery is filled with losers. He didn't want to go. He didn't think he wanted to go. 1,800 Marines who died at Belleau Woods, he called them suckers for getting killed during that battle back in that time. And then he asked the question also, who were the good guys? And why did the U.S. intervene for allies for us to lose 1,800 people? They were suckers for getting killed. What was their purpose? What were they standing for? All the things you can question about why people do anything, he threw that in there. And then he talked about, they brought it up again, he talked about John McCain. And he brought this into the equation too to show that he has a history of talking about veterans in this manner. He said, John McCain, he said, you know, only thing about John McCain, he said, I like people who weren't captured. And he didn't consider him a war hero. We all know this. I'm just giving you the basics, then I'm gonna get into the nitty gritty. Also, something I researched, something I found was that, you know, when our soldiers or our military members die overseas and they bring them back, they bring them through Dover Air Force Base. He's only visited Dover Air Force Base 4 times to receive bodies coming back that have been killed in a campaign or whatnot. Out of 90, there's been 96 transfers with a total of 127 service members since he's been in office. 96 transfers, he's only attended 4. And in the 4 transfers, there were a total of 9 military service members of the 4 he went to. Out of 127 members, he's only been there for 9. That'll tell you where he stands as far as the military. Now, this is the other one. Remember when he was going to do that big parade and he wanted the tanks rolling down the street because he thought he was, you know, Kim Jong-un or somebody overseas or whatever? Well, it was brought to our attention, you know, those that listen, that at that 4th of July parade, he wanted to exclude wounded veterans. He said people don't want to see amputees, wounded veterans. Nobody wants to see that. This is what he said. Now, these people lost their limbs and things like that from serving the country. But he said that he didn't want them in the 4th of July parade that he was doing because people don't want to see that. You know, this is the position that they call the commander-in-chief. That's over all military service members. And we're told while we're serving active duty that we're still bound to what the commander-in-chief says, no, right, wrong, or indifferent. But these comments, these things, you know, it's kind of a slap in the face to anyone who's ever served. It's a slap in the face to those that are serving, and it's a true slap in the face to family members of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country. You know, we sit back, we watch, we listen, and I'm gonna speak to some of the Trump supporters at this time. You know how you sit at these rallies and he talks about get that SOB off the field with the kneeling and look at my African American and all the different things you can think about when he's in these rallies and y'all get fired up and pumped up and all these different things that you know, I've supported him and all these type things. But right now, your comments are as quiet as a mouse pissing on cotton. I have seen nothing from all you people who are out there who truly support this president that have anything to support him in what he said. You are not posting anything about what he said. No rah-rah, no cheering. Why? Because you know deep in your heart that he's wrong. But are you going to speak up about it? No, you won't say anything, because what you'll do is you'll let this slide by. They'll find another narrative to slide in there to take your mind and your focus off of what he said about the veterans to move on over and say something about Joe Biden, and then it'll just continue to roll and roll. But let me tell you something about us veterans. We don't forget. We don't forget. And at this point, with this election coming up, I've had a lot of disagreements with things that he said. But this one here, yeah, it hits home for me. Did I give the ultimate sacrifice? No, I didn't. But I served this country knowing that I could have been, and the ultimate sacrifice could have happened to me. And there's a lot of veterans I know that feel the same way. But it just throws me that all the veterans that I'm friends with on Facebook and silence, total silence about what he said. That tells me one or two things about the people that I've served with. Either, I don't even know if I want to get into this right now, but it tells me one or two things. Either you really don't give a shit, let's just be honest, you really don't give a shit, or you're so blinded by the fact that you have this person in the office that you feel so strongly about that you say, to hell with those that gave their lives, to hell with those the ones I served with. I'm going to support this man just because. Just because. And why is it just because? Because he may be saying what you truly feel. Helen Finch Paula, like my mama said, if you ain't got nothing good to say, then say nothing. That's why they're quiet. Amen. Thank you for your comment. True statement. Nothing to say. Nothing to say. But, and I'm going to bring some numbers in here in a minute, but you always hear, support our veterans, support our veterans, support our veterans. That's just a slogan. It's not an action. And I'm going to show you why it's not an action. Right now, today, when you talk about the veterans, there are 37,085 experiencing homelessness right now on United States soil. 22,740 are living in shelters. 14,345 are unsheltered, which means they're living on the streets. 2% of homeless veterans have families with them. That means they have their wives, they have their children, they're all homeless. 90.3% are men, 80.9% are women. The total number of homeless women that are veterans, 3,292. 3,292 women, so you can do your calculation, 37,085 total homeless right now. But you support our veterans. But we have veterans homeless in the streets. We have a president talking about losers and suckers because they gave the ultimate sacrifice, and then you still choose to support him. Well, I'm just going to put it out there like I said before. Miss me with the rah-rah. Miss me with the text messages and the post on my page on Veterans Day saying, thank you for your service. You can miss me with that this year come November. Miss me with that this year. Because it tells me that if you're so silent when he says this about our fallen comrades, what are you saying about me as a black comrade? Let that marinate in your juices for a while. Because at the end of the day, it's all about what they're going to do for you, what you're going to do for you, and what you choose to pay attention to and what you choose to ignore. I choose not to ignore it. I choose to call bullshit bullshit. Excuse my language this morning, but when you talk about this, we see things while we're in the military, while we're serving. We see the systemic racism while we're in the military, but we don't speak on it because it's not as open as it is out here in the civilian world, but it's there. And then when you call these people losers and suckers, they may not look like me, but they chose to sign up just like me. They chose to go wherever we had to go and defend and support this Constitution. But they're losers and suckers. And you sit silently. I think I know who the losers and the suckers are. Moving along. I got to get off there before I get too far gone. Support your veterans. If you're true about supporting your veterans, support your veterans. If you're using it as a slogan, shut what they call up. Just going to leave that at that. Right now, hidden agenda. Oh, there's a hidden agenda out here. People need to be paying attention. There's a payroll tax holiday is what they call it. Payroll tax holiday, which is a tax cut coming your way. Preach on, bro. Appreciate that, Mario. You know, it gets under my skin sometimes, bro. It gets under my skin sometimes. Let's get back to our regular scheduled program. Payroll tax holiday. It's a tax cut. Now I found these things, and I'm gonna read them off to you, and I'm gonna let you tell you exactly what's right. Number one, this payroll tax applies to those making less than $100,000 a year. So if you're making less than $100,000 a year, well, let me start off with this caveat. The caveat is They're using federal government employees as guinea pigs with this program. So they're trying it with the federal employees, and you cannot opt out of it. You have to be in it. No ifs, no ands, no buts. So it applies to those making less than $100,000 a year, right? So you still owe the taxes on the back end. You're still going to owe the taxes on the back end. You're going to see it in your check this time. So what you're going to see is you're going to see your federal tax and FICA, FICA, OASDI or something, like whatever your Social Security comes out of your check, however it's identified, it's going to be coming out of, you're going to see it. It's not going to be coming out of your check. And you're going to have to pay it back later. This is deferred to a later date. Taxes won't be forgiven by the president. They can't be forgiven by the president. Only Congress can do this. And that's where the water gets a little muddy that he's doing this, but that's another conversation for another day. The average of deferral for 4 months is about $1,060, which averages out, they're doing this over a four-month trial period. So it averages out to you getting about $250 a month back into your check. Well, y'all shooting them comments today. I'm trying to keep up. Mario Cigar Man, don't do it. Hey, that's what I'm getting ready to get into, man. Good morning, Big L. Good morning, Big L down there in the Carolinas. Yeah, Mario, you say don't do it, but here's the thing. I read something where all federal employees, they're not exempt. These are the guinea pigs. They're the ones they're going to use. So they're going to start there and they're going to work their way, try to branch it out into the civilian sector. But let me get on this a little bit more. For those making between $43,000 and $69,000 a year, your average deferral for 4 months is going to be $1,060. So over those 4 months, you're going to see $1,060, which comes out about $250 a month, for while this is going on. It does nothing for the unemployed, which is who needs it. Who needs the money right now? The unemployed. They got these, bootleg moratoriums they're talking about, but we'll get into that in a minute. And you can't, like I said, federal employees are the guinea pigs, and you cannot opt out. Let me just be real about this. We've heard political people talk for years and years about cutting Social Security. Now, I want you to listen to this very clear, because I'm not the brightest light bulb in the socket, but I do flicker every once in a while. And I want you to understand, and you can go do your research, but I'm telling you, this is a precursor to cutting your Social Security, because what they're doing is giving you your Social Security back, giving you your federal taxes back for a 4-month trial to see how it works. But come January, February, March, April, you got to pay it back. So it's something that's kind of like, okay, well, you're going to give it to me here, but you're going to take it back there. Plus, you're going to be taxed on it when they give it back to you. So your check is going to be less come January, February, March, April, compared to what you thought you gained in September, October, November, December. Now, when I talk about the Social Security, think about this. They've always talked about depleting the Social Security, fund that we've all put into I've been working since I was 14 years old. So I've been putting into the Social Security since I've been at that age. They're saying that right now, the average person who receives Social Security is about $1,500 a month on the average. Some are higher, some are lower, but on the average, most Americans receive about $1,500 a month Social Security. By doing this payroll cut or payroll tax, if it goes into fruition and they do start going out of Social Security, you will lose. The average will go from $1,500 down to about $1,200. Well, anywhere from $1,200 to $1,000. So between a $300 to $500 drop in your Social Security that you paid into. Nobody gave it to you. This is coming out of your daily, your monthly, however you get paid check to go towards your Social Security for retirement. And now they're talking about it going from a $1,500 average down to either a $1,200 or a $1,000 average across the board for people. We got to pay attention. We have to, this is why I talk about this election coming up. I'm going to transition a little bit. This is why I talk about you need to pay attention to everybody from the top to the bottom. From the top to the bottom. Because the people in the Senate and the Congress are the ones we need to be concerned about when it comes to our Social Security. All he's doing, he's just a figurehead to try to push it through. Him and what's the finance guy, Steve Mnuchin. They could give a damn about you and your finances. We need to pay attention because right now you got people that can't pay their rent. You got people that don't have jobs, and they're still up there kicking the can down the road about whether they're going to give them $300, $600, put a moratorium on evictions and everything. This is the United States of America. The United States of America, known as the greatest country in the world. And we're not even taking care of our own people. They want to take your health care. They want to do all these things. Everything is about taking away. It's not adding to, it's taking away. You need to pay attention to these things. I call it the hidden agendas, but they're not hidden. They're not hidden at all. We see them, but we don't pay attention to them. Why? Because we're comfortable. We get too comfortable with the fact that we have these things coming into us. We feel like the government is giving us something. They're not giving us anything. If you ever pay attention, they're taking away more than they're ever giving. But as long as it's not affecting me and my paycheck, I'm fine. But as I mentioned before, we got all these veterans that are homeless. We got many, many millions of people that could be homeless within the next month because they don't want to do, or they haven't signed this thing about the eviction moratorium and extending it out so people aren't losing their apartments or losing their homes or any of those type things because they're not working. But what we do is because it's not affecting me in my home, I'm good. But just remember, it may not affect you in your home, but it could be affecting your brother, your sister, your cousins, your uncle, your second, third, fourth down. Somebody you know is being affected by what's going on with the economy right now. Somebody you know is being affected by these payroll tax holiday cuts. Someone you know is being affected by everything that's going on, whether they lost a loved one from this COVID or anything. And we sit back because it's not affecting us and say, it's not me. I'm good. No, you're not. You know, we if you think back when we had President Reagan, and they called it the trickle down effect. They said all these tax cuts, all these different things, it's going to be a trickle down to get down to the lower people. It never got there. Because the trickle down is one of them things like rain. Rain it may rain, but it doesn't always get down to the surface of the earth. Sometimes it dissipates in the atmosphere. The trickle down effect was the same thing. It didn't trickle down. Why didn't it trickle down? It wasn't meant to trickle down. It was meant to take care of who it took care of, and that was it. We're in that same situation now. And as I always tell y'all, I don't tell you, and I will not tell you who to vote for, but if you listen to the facts, if you listen to and read and get the information that you should have, you'll understand of which direction we're headed. And we need to do a U-turn to get back to what we do as far as principles of what we as United States citizens are used to and what we do. We have been told and built on the principle that we take care of each other. It's a dog-eat-dog world, don't get me wrong. But we all find a way and some compassion to take care of each other. And at this point, we don't see it. We don't find it. Why? Because we're so much about picking a side that we're not choosing right from wrong. You're picking the side of the wealthy or the have and the have-nots, the wealthy and the unwealthy, the homeless and the homes, those that have and continue to move on, and those that don't have, trying to figure out how they're going to make it happen. November 3rd, the whole ballot, not just the top ballot, the whole damn ballot. Pay attention. Now this next one, Jamarcus Glover. Now a lot of you may not know this name, Jamarcus Glover. But if I tell you the name that's associated with Jamarcus Glover, then you understand where I'm going. Jamarcus Glover, former boyfriend to Breonna Taylor. Everybody remembers Breonna Taylor was killed on March 13th. How was she killed? By a botched raid. They did a raid on her apartment, shot her 7-8 times while she laid in her bed after a shift of taking care of people at a hospital. Let me take a break. Thanks to brothers like you that get this kind of info out to the people. Appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you too, man. I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening, because the thing is, sometimes the information that I try to give you is information that they're not talking about. Mainstream media is going to tell you one thing. I try to give you and try to keep my personal opinions out of it, but sometimes they bleed into each other. You know how that works. So I'm trying to do my best to stay middle of the road. But there's certain things that I get compassionate about and that just eat at me that I just can't hold it back and try to straddle the fence. You know, I just can't do that. But back to Breonna Taylor and Jamarcus Glover. On July 13th, as I mentioned, Breonna Taylor was killed by the police on a raid, a botched raid is what they call it. On July 13th, Jamarcus Glover was offered a plea deal. I want y'all to hear this now. He was offered a plea deal because Jamarcus Russell was known to be a supposed drug dealer. And he was dating Breonna Taylor. They said they did surveillance and everything. He had boxes coming to her home, Amazon boxes, different things like that. So while they're surveilling, they're thinking they're still dating. But however, she had moved on to somebody else. Her other boyfriend was in the home with her at the night she got shot. He shot a police officer. They're trying to hold him accountable because they did a no-knock warrant. He heard people coming in, thought it was her ex-boyfriend, started shooting. Because they started shooting, he hit a cop. Now they had him up for attempted murder. All the things you can think about that went wrong have all been flipped back on the person there or on the people who were affected by the botched raid. So let me continue. They wanted Jamarcus Glover to admit that he and co-defendants, which means a plethora of people, were involved in the drug trafficking operation through April 22nd. Now, mind you, Breonna Taylor was killed March 13th. Up through April 22nd, they said that they wanted him to say that him and co-defendants were doing drug trafficking. The plea deal was, if he said this, which would implicate Breonna Taylor as being part of the co-defendants and the drug trafficking, he would avoid a 10-year sentence and be sentenced to only possible probation. Now, let me let you hear that again now. If he did this plea deal and implicated Breonna Taylor as being part of the drug trafficking that they say he was doing, he would, rather than getting a 10-year sentence for whatever he was charged on, they would reduce it to probably just probation. He turned it down. He said they're trying to tarnish Breonna Taylor's name and shift the narrative from a botched, no-knock warrant to making it seem like she was part of this drug trafficking. I don't know Jamarcus Glover. I don't know his lifestyle. All I know is from what I've read that he was supposedly a drug dealer at some time. But if I eliminate the fact of what he may be doing wrong as far as what he was doing as a drug dealer and everything, this young man, as much as you don't want to hear me say it, I'm going to say it. This young man has integrity. Because at the end of the day, they're trying to smear this woman's name, who he dated at one time, because they shot and killed her, to make it seem like because she was involved in this is why she's not here today. This young man, no matter how you feel about him and his drug trafficking, because they always bring up everything that's wrong about people when things go wrong, I'm going to tell you something right about him. He is not going to take this plea deal for the simple fact he knows that she didn't do anything wrong. You know, they always talk about that snitches get stitches, but we never hear about these stories. And the thing about it, it wasn't supposed to get out. It got out, and now it's in the media. And now people are wondering, wait a minute. If you did nothing wrong, why are you trying to get him to do a plea deal? You said everything was correct then going into that house, having the no-knock warrant. Why you shot? Why you accidentally, quote unquote, killed her? All these things are supposed to be on the up and up, but wait a minute. The one person that you said was involved in this drug trafficking, you're asking him to do a plea deal to implicate her, but you're saying she was already a part of it, so why does he have to implicate her? Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a public defender. I'm none of those things whatsoever. But I do have common sense. And if we hear this in a case like this, how many other people have been put these type of things put in front of them to implicate somebody else who may not have had anything to do wrong with it, that just was guilty by association? Now, you can say what you want about me by defending this young man or taking the side of this young man, but I'm going to tell you this. I respect him, not because of what he may have done wrong, but because of what he just did right. what he did right. And what he did right, well, he stood on the principles of knowing that she did not have anything to do with what he was doing. But because he used to date her and they were following her, and he still came by there every once in a while, because what was said was he had packages, Amazon packages, things like that, delivered to her home because he knew that it was safer to have them delivered there compared to where he lived at. But the surveillance that they were doing, they tried to say that he was having drugs delivered to her, and that was where they were picked up. Kind of like a middleman. Nah, bro, it don't work that way. It don't work that way. See, these are the things that we don't see, that we don't hear about. And then when it comes to light, people say, oh, that's just one case out of many. No, that's the norm. It's the norm. It's the norm about what happens in our community when we get charged with things. It's the norm that happens to our people when they think they have something on you and they want to implicate you because they think you're crack. There's this one episode I seen, someone imitated a 48 hours thing, and they said they had a guy in the room, and the detectives was talking to him and trying to break him down, and he wouldn't say anything. And what they did was they said, you want some chicken? They brought him some Popeye's chicken and a red Kool-Aid or something. And he sat there and he told on every damn body. It was done out of fun as a comedic skit. But how often does that happen? Now, when you talk about these things, when you look at these things, you have to look at it in this way. People who get charged with crimes, a lot of times, yeah, they've done the crime. I'm not going to defend anyone who's done a crime. They've done a crime, they should do the time. But in instances like this, when the police, the FBI, when they're wrong about what they do, or they've done something in a manner that has caused more pain than helping the process on what they're trying to do, this is where these movements come into play. This is where Black Lives Matter come into play. And then people want to talk about Blue Lives Matter as well. Well, yeah, some of them blue lives are crooked. Blue lives is a shirt that you put on every day. Black lives is a lifestyle that we can't take off. But when you talk about these things, it's, oh, well, you don't understand. Or, our cops they're in danger every day. Why are they in danger? That's a job they chose to take. We don't hear you talking about the military members that go overseas away from their families on a regular basis, 18, 19-year-old kids that go over there. The only time you talk about the sacrifice they do is when it's the ultimate sacrifice, not the ones that come back wounded or have to be at the VA hospital, or the ones that the president doesn't want to see in a parade because he says that people don't want to see amputees in a parade like that. They don't want to see that. Why? Because it's real. They don't want to see that in a parade. But you talk about people respecting our military, respecting our veterans, but when something happens to them, you're going to turn the other way and not see the damages of what happens in war. But then when you see these police officers in the streets because you got protesters out there rolling through with tanks and shit like that, you say to yourself, that's what they get. They shouldn't be out there marching like that. Wait a minute. First thing you need to ask is, why do the police in the United States of America need tanks? Armored personnel carriers. Why do we need that on the streets of the United States of America? Ask yourself that question first before you start praising that they have it out there. That's a part of the defunding. It has nothing to do with taking the police and getting rid of them. It has to do with them stop buying shit that they don't need. But what happens? We get caught up in the visuals, and the visuals are they're taking care of those protesters. Well, guess what? Everybody talks about protests and the marches with Martin Luther King Jr., but nobody goes back to the Boston Tea Party. What about the Boston Tea Party? That was a protest. You want to talk about that? But that was okay. That was okay. You know why it was okay? Because of how they looked. It was for freedom. Don't get me started this morning. Please don't get me started this morning. Joe Kirk, I like that. Blue lives is a shirt, black lives is a lifestyle. Yes, it is. And I've been living this black lifestyle for a long time. Trust me, I can't shake it off. I can't shake it off. I can't shake it off. No matter how I talk, no matter how I walk, I can't shake it. I can't shake it. Not that I want to, because I love me, some me. And I think you love you, some you. Thumbs up from Melvin Jackson. Appreciate that, brother. Lynn Sewell, thumbs up. I appreciate y'all. When you talk about the Jamarcus Glovers, how many are there? How many are there that get pulled in there and they want them to turn evidence on somebody who may have not had anything to do with what went on, but because they want to make their case, and they have you in their sights, that they're able to get what they want. Because why? Somebody will crack. Somebody will crack. Depending on what it is, somebody is going to crack. I tell you, shout out to Jamarcus. Do your thing. I'm not proud of what you've done in your past, but I'm proud of how you stood on your laurels at this moment, to not have them implicate Breonna in something that they did wrong to make it seem that they were right. Mind, Body, and Soul segment this morning. And I need to, this is something I really need to, it's going to be ironic when I read this after everything I just went through, but bear with me. I'm going to laugh probably, but Mind, Body, and Soul. Anger is your biggest enemy. Learn to control it. Don't let it control you. Let me read that one more time, and that's how it's ironic for me. Anger is your biggest enemy. Learn to control it. Don't let it control you. You know, hold on before we get in there. Helen Finch Paula, there's a lot been happening a long time. Central Park 5, another example. Yes, ma'am. I seen something last night, Central Park 5. Thanks for sparking my memory, Helen. Last night, I was watching the news, and I can't remember his name. One of the Central Park 5, because I was half asleep because I got to get up and do the show. But one of the Central Park 5 just wrote a book, and his book is coming out, if it's not already out. And he's talking about everything that he dealt with as being a part of the Central Park 5, in and out of jail and court trials and all those different things. I would recommend, because I know I'm going to buy it. I want to read it. I want to get a first, account of exactly what these guys dealt with from one perspective. Because I think sometimes we get caught up in the fact that when we see these people go to jail or get sentenced to jail that didn't do the crime, and then they get out, how can they function? Are they able to function after they come out? And how are they able to move on after being through something like that? So I would suggest anyone who's interested, I won't tell you what to buy, but if you're interested, I say pick it up and find out what this young man went through. Because you got to remember, these guys were 16 to 18, no more than 20 years old at the time when all this happened. So back to the Mind, Body, and Soul. Anger is your biggest enemy. Learn to control it. Don't let it control you. Now, I know I get on here at times, and y'all may think that, I get on these tirades and everything. Linda Helms. Anger is your biggest enemy. Don't let it control you. You better say it again, cousin. I appreciate that, cousin Linda. And I get on here and I tell you about things that are going on. And I have to catch myself at times, not because I get angry, because I know how far I can go. And it's not that, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm sugarcoating this or trying to water it down or anything. I'm giving you the real about what I feel and what I know about what's going on. I try to keep the emotion out of it, but there's certain topics and certain situations that you have no control over how you feel about them because of who you are and what you've experienced. But when I talk about anger, I learned years and years and years ago, when you do things out of anger, you do things that are not of you. You get into situations that you can't get out of because you let the anger control how you react to things and how you go about doing things. When you take anger out of the equation and put thought processes in, put your knowledge in, put your experiences in front of the anger, you learn that when you speak on these things and when you talk to people about these things and when you react to these things, you act out of knowledge. You act out of the fact that you don't want people to get to the point where they're looking at you like you're crazy or anything like that. Anger defeats and eliminates anything positive that you may say out of your mouth at the time that you're angry. People will sometimes look at you and say, don't be so angry. We always get labeled, and I'm going to talk to my sisters right now. My sisters have been dealt with this for a long time, of being called the angry Black woman, because of how they react to things or how they voice their opinions or what they have to say. But I'm here to tell you, you can call them an angry Black woman all you want. I love my Black women, because my thing is, if a Black woman shows anger towards me or shows her her not being happy about things I've done, that means she cares. That's the way I see it. She is passionate about what she cares about. those labels that are being put on them, those struggles that they have to deal with. We as black men deal with a lot, but the black woman deals with a whole lot more. And when they put that label of angry in front, they're not angry. They're nowhere close to angry. What they are is they feel overlooked. You know, you had to think long and hard back in the day when the black woman was the one who took care of the home for the slave master and the slave master's wife, took care of the kids, raised the kids. They were responsible for everything within the house. But at this time, at this age, they're doing their thing. They're successful. They're running their own businesses. They're doing the things that nobody thought they would be able to do. And why is that? Because they persevered. They made it through. They pushed through. But no matter what the circumstances, if they pushed themselves through, and you would never be able to push yourself through the way they have if they were angry. So when we talk about, anger is your biggest enemy, my black women have learned to control that anger and put it into motion of a successful thing, proceeding to do great things in this world. When I hear the arguments about Kamala Harris and, she's not this, she's not that, I say, wait a minute, ask yourself one question. They're going to label her this, they're going to label her that, but what do you know? What have you researched? How do you get to understand exactly where she's coming from rather than taking the narrative of what everybody wants to tell you? Because understand this. She's cut from the same cloth of somebody you may be married to, or somebody you may be dating, or somebody who raised you. But you fall into this narrative of angry. We have to protect our black queens. Yes, sir, Mario. Love my black queens. And I want people to understand and listen to this show. I have nothing against anybody other than black women. I ain't got nothing against you. Love who you love. But the first woman in my life I ever fell in love with was Lucille Whedon, my mama, a black woman. And since that day that I realized how I could love a black woman, you can't give me nothing else. You can't tell me nothing else negative or otherwise about a black woman. Love you, Lucille. Oh, excuse me. Love your mom. People will be like, why you calling your mama Lucille? Speak on to my brother, Fake Jackson. Linda Helms, you better do your own research and not jump on the bandwagon. That's what it's all about. Because, back to what I was saying about the anger, when you speak passionately about things, people take it as you being angry. But when you truly believe in your heart of hearts of what you're speaking about, that's not anger. That's passion. It's passion. It's about knowing how you feel about something. But some people want to label it as being angry. Let me just say this. We've done a lot for this country as far as the African-American community. And when you really evaluate and you look at the big picture of things, if anyone has any right to be angry about anything, it would be us. Oh, it would be us. But let me tell you what people don't realize is, and Doc Rivers said it best in his press conference one day. He said, we love a country that don't love us back. We love a country that hasn't always loved us back. But we fought wars for this country. We've lost family members for this country. Ultimate sacrifices. We've done things for this country that this country would probably never do for us. But you call us angry. Let's flip that for a minute. Who's angry? Are we angry? Or are you angry? And when I say you, I'm talking about the people who call us angry. And the reason I ask, are you angry? Is because we've come a long way from where we were. In spite of, we've come a long way from where you thought we'd be. We have persevered. over and over and over again. We fought battles on a daily. We get back up and we keep fighting. Like they say, that quote, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. And I refuse. And I would hope anybody that looks like me would refuse to answer to anything where somebody calls you angry. We may get discouraged. We may feel bewildered. We may have been bamboozled. But I'll be damned if you're going to call me angry. Because at the end of the day, I ain't mad and I ain't angry. Because I know who got me. The man upstairs got me. And he didn't bring us this far to leave us now. And I'm not going to get into my preaching mode because that's not what we're here for this morning. But as I said, anger, control it. And don't let it control you. And don't let people put that label on you. When you know deep in your heart, you're not angry. You're passionate. Believe that. We're going to wrap this thing up. It's another Saturday morning, y'all. Labor Day weekend. A lot of barbecues going to be going on. A lot of family gatherings going on. But remember this, we still got this coronavirus going on. Now, I see a lot of people walking around totally disregarding it, not following the rules, not doing what they know they need to do. That's your choice. I ain't mad at you. But for me and mine, trust me, if you want to come up in here, you're going to follow some rules. If I'm going to come around you, I'm going to ask a lot of questions. Because at the end of the day, I need to know that you have my best interest at hand. Because if you don't have my best interest at hand, I can't deal with you at this point. Helen Finch Paula has a comment. Ooh, a long one too. All right, let's get into this. Righteous anger is necessary. And there are many things happening in our world currently that require it. The recipients may try to put it back on the person expressing the truth simply because they're guilty. Speak it anyway and don't leave out the passion. Unjustified anger is the enemy. Helen, let me tell you something. You just eloquently said everything that I wanted to say, but in a different way. I appreciate you. I appreciate you tuning in, and I truly appreciate your comments this morning. Lenso, appreciated you, my brother. I appreciate you, bro. Mario McCoy, enjoy your holiday, my brother, and be safe. And that's for everybody out there. Be safe, man. You know, like I was saying, look out for one another. We're in trying times, and I'm not saying not to go out and enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. You know, have as much normalcy as we can. Maurice Wigfall, looking forward to next week. Please be safe and enjoy your holiday weekend. Yes, sir. You know, try to be as normal as possible, but take into consideration it's not always about you. It's about those around you. And we got these things going on. And the thing is, you hear all these reports about if we do this, if we do this, if we do this. And it just amazes me that at this point in our lives where we're all of age to understand things in a different manner and things like that. But we choose to listen to those who don't have their expertise and blow off the ones that do when it comes to our well-being. Next week, I'm planning to have a guest on, one of our strong Black queens. I'll get those details out, but I'm going to tell you this right now. November 3rd, I'm not going to say any of those slogans, vote or die, or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into that. Not even going to get into that. What I am going to tell you is this. There's a multitude of ways for you to let your voice be heard with this election coming up. Don't squander the opportunity to put your hat in the ring and say what you got to say to the people that it needs to be said to. I think if, as years have gone by, we've gotten comfortable with the status quo. It's time to break it up. You know, change never comes. And Dr. Shackelford said it best last week about, you know, the radical He was talking about Jesus as far as the radical way he did things, as far as it was viewed. Sometimes in life, we have to become radical. We have to become radical in our thinking. We have to become radical in our movements. We have to become radical in how we go about doing things and how we go about making change. Everything radical is not bad, but it's all about coming and everybody being on the same accord to say, we want change and this is how we're going to make it happen. Because if we don't make change and we continue with the status quo, as I opened the show, those that have will continue to have, and the have-nots will have even less. I'm your boy RW Coolin signing off for this. Love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. I'll see y'all next week on the same channel, same time. I appreciate your support. Keep tuning in. Speak on the show, RW Coolin. Talk to me. Peace.